VR! On Tuesday, I had my second night of leaving Liz alone to fend for herself with Alistair. And, real quick though, to be fair, we're going to try to see if we can get Liz down to visit my dad's wife in Florida for a few days. So hopefully that'll be a nice little vacation she can take. And, I mean, it doesn't mean that she won't have to take care of Alistair, but it means that hopefully she can relax a little bit in a way that I feel like she hasn't been able to ever since he was born, since she's pretty much, has to be stuck at the house, making sure that he's alive and fed and okay. But anyway, so yeah, Tuesday night I hung out with Morgan and Ian, two of my best friends from college, and we talked about all sorts of things, but I was down there to go to a VR film festival, and that was really exciting. Pretty poorly organized. It was by a company called Kaleidoscope VR, which I guess has this great mission of supporting I guess VR films and, whatever kind of artistic experiments are happening. So on the good side, they had everything organized in different categories, which made sense. In a really weird move, though, they had VIP tickets, which were much more expensive than the normal tickets. And I think in any logical society, if you have a normal line and a VIP line, then you do something like, for every two people in the normal line, for every two people in the VIP line, one person in the normal line gets to go. But instead they were doing this weird thing where it's the only time people in the normal line get to go is if there was no one in the VIP line. So there was one really cool demo that unfortunately only had one station for it, where the line for the general ticket admission just sat at a really long amount for most of the festival because everyone wanted to try it out and anyone with VIP tickets was getting priority. So, I waited in line for 20 minutes and was like, this is a total waste of time. So I went to do some other stuff. I wish also, I don't know how many people who are at the festival actually have their own Gear VRs or DK2s, but I wish there had been something that made it very clear, what was exclusive to the festival and what things you could download, because I was trying to figure out what to wait in line for, and it's I think I remember seeing that on Oculus Share, and sure enough, after the festival I checked, and a lot of it was available for download. But if nothing else, it was a great opportunity to be these are things that people are talking about. Someone just came off of that one, they're talking about it, that was cool. So a few things I checked out. First was documentary things. The big thing I got out of that was that VR cameras are perfect for being placed in situations that pretty much don't want a human hanging out, and also you're not quite sure where the best shot is going to be because, there was cameras underwater and in a lion's den and with nesting turtles and surrounded by monarch butterflies, and these are all things where it's actually really great to be able to look around. Mind you, this wasn't VR, it was 360. But to be able to, which if you don't know, it just means that it's basically one camera. It's like the Google Street thing where you can look all the way around, but you're not getting depth perception because it's not, multiple cameras. And it actually is more than two cameras that you need to be able to do that properly. You need 12. But anyway, so it was still really cool. And it was also fascinating having the camera sometimes be in the ground because you really feel like you are below ground looking around at these things, but really beautiful. The sounds are really wonderful, really bright colors. And it's amazing to think that, once VR becomes a little bit more HD, it will be, some of these videos will be indistinguishable from real life. You will just feel like you are there. You get a gentle breeze, a fan blowing on you, some smell-o-vision kind of stuff, and it will be indistinguishable from the real thing. That is both wonderful and terrifying. Next up, there was a little station that I think they were just primarily talking about the fact that they had some real-time VR that was able to be recorded. And then also there was just a little thing that was reading your hands. I should have actually looked to see what was doing it, but that was really cool to just be able to, in real time, be able to move my hands and see that, making an appearance in the VR world. It wasn't super precise. If I tried to do this kind of stuff, it was pretty gnarly. But still, that was my first time getting to see my hands in VR, so that was great. Looked at a bunch of films, some documentary stuff. One thing about, a few of them I think have been making the news rounds. One about a little girl in Africa who wakes up really early, walks miles to get some not super clean water, brings it back, goes to school, comes home, has to pick up a bunch of firewood, basically tries not to, die of smoke inhalation in her little hut, cooks food, then goes and does her homework over in a town that has electric light, and then basically wakes up and does it all over again. And so VR is really fantastic there for helping you feel like you're with this little girl every step of the way. Similarly, there was a really fantastic little film about the July 7th, 2005 bombing in London on a train. And what was particularly powerful about that to me is most of the locations being shot in the film were places in London I was familiar with. And of course I was there in 2008, so this was after all this had happened. But it really, kind of drove the point home of like, yeah, God, like I really felt like I had experienced this thing. And basically it's this woman talking about what it was like to be in the next car over and, remembering what that day was like. And the most powerful thing the film did is when she gets to the part where, the bomb actually exploded and all that. Thank God the filmmakers weren't like, now we need to do visual effects and show a train exploding. Instead, they basically cut to black and had like some little white light particle effects. And you knew what was going on, and I think that was great. Leave it up to your imagination. And then there was kind of a thing going on that reminded me a little bit of the way The Last of Us, the video game, does this juxtaposition of beautiful things with like horrific events, or really horrible weather with really beautiful events. Whereas a lot of the congestion and the really tight kind of horrific stuff going on after the bomb exploded down there, were being shown images of like outside of the tunnel, still by the tracks, but seeing all the nature and everything around. And the juxtaposition of that was pretty powerful, as was this woman talking about trying to get back into her normal routine. And she's like, I was never a suicidal person or anything, but dealing with PTSD and going through a lot of the shots that had already appeared earlier in the film, just this normal routine of going on the train, but now having flashbacks to what this experience was like. And of course the way they do the flashbacks is back to the black screen with the little white particle effects. And you feel it. You really feel what that is like. And so again, I've known this to be true, but it's great to see it driven home in different mediums, that VR is incredible for empathy, for evoking empathetic reactions. It's great for scale. It's great for feeling like you're different sizes. It's great for I think it's gonna be in the film industry as well. Even in situations when you can't do like a full 360, there's one little animated kind of trailer short film called The Last Mountain that basically gives you like a VR IMAX experience, but with the added level of like depth perception. So the whole film is happening like in an IMAX window. It's not totally 360, but then it feels like it's really a window, and everything that's happening there is totally 3D. So that was pretty cool. My favorite thing I saw at the VR festival was a little short film, or a little short interactive event called The Night Cafe, based on Van Gogh's painting. Very simple premise, like you see the painting, you go into the painting, it's 3D now, and then you get to walk around it, and there's all these other parts of the cafe that are inspired by Van Gogh's work. Or actually using Van Gogh's work. There's a self-portrait, there's a vase he did, there's a starry night when you look outside. And this was the most immersive, artistically satisfying VR experience I've had to date, because there was such care and craft and quality to the way this was done. There's no right angles. Everything feels kind of gestural. Even surfaces that could have been a single color have like a sketched quality to them. I loved the way Van Gogh was 3D modeled. There's a piano player. The choice of music was perfect. I'm not even sure what the music came from. But then, the piano players there playing. The lights are all doing this kind of starry night, like emanated thing where there's not actually light coming from them, but just like these little ringlets of pastels. So that was really wonderful. I was just super impressed with that. And then I was lucky enough to actually speak with the guy there who actually made it, who I guess recently left his normal employment to create a VR studio called Borrowed Light Studios, which is a great title. And I just want to see what else he makes, and I'd love to maybe work with the guy someday. He seems super chill. There's another guy there at the festival who looked a little bit more like a Van Gogh kind of guy based on his facial hair and all that, and I say this without knowing anything about him. I heard a little bit of what he was saying on the panel discussion. I don't know what he actually made, but he seemed a little bit like an arrogant, artistic type. And I was like, don't let that be the guy who made the Van Gogh thing, because I like it so much and I want the person who made it to be cool. So glad the person who actually made it was really cool. also on a VR note. So that was the festival. That was great. I got home around midnight that night, and yeah, I just took a lot of inspiration from that experience. Grabbed another Dodo case, little cardboard thing from there. I was hoping to see some like totally new VR tech. I didn't see like an HTC Vive or anything like that there. But also on the VR note, there was a guy there who tried to get me to watch a short film that I didn't have time for, but he actually emailed me on Friday to be like, hey, do you want to grab lunch? I'm glad my film touched you. And I was like, oh, you might be thinking I'm someone else because I actually haven't seen your film yet. But I was like, hey, it's always great to chat with people who are into VR, so I downloaded and watched a film he did about the Nepal earthquake, which was very well done, and I grabbed lunch with him, some Indian food, or I had so many leftovers, I just, let him get food and we chatted. But it was cool to just chat with this guy about, all the future of VR, and I mean, interestingly enough, like, he really got into the potential for, like, the sex industry and that kind of thing, and I guess he's actually, like, doing a project for a dominatrix. But, still, it's always cool to have other perspectives and to hear about, his history of VR and filmmaking and where he'll be going with that in the future. So that was great. And then the day before that, on Thursday, I had lunch with my good friend Sebastian Park, who was one of my 5 roommates freshman year at Syracuse, and it's been so cool keeping in touch with him. He's such a chill guy, and his brain works in all the ways mine doesn't, especially on the business and marketing sides of things. And so we were talking about everything I've been up to and everything he's been up to, and he's got some really cool prospects on the horizon that I really hope work out for him. But also he's just very, very supportive of anyone with a passion and interest, and he's always offering to like help people out that are looking for projects or employment and that kind of thing. So yeah, we were just we talked a little bit about like what my dream day would look like in a few years, like going to work in my dream environment, and what would that look like in terms of VR and how I'm interacting with people and that kind of thing. So it was just a great lunch. We had a lunch at a place called Otto's Tacos, which were fantastic tacos, and really enjoyed that. So yeah, that's kind of where we are with VR. I guess I'll throw this in here just because it's part of the week. I'm getting kind of tired now. Wow, I worked from home on Wednesday. Yeah, I got a lot done on Wednesday. Or I took like half a sick day. I was going to try to catch up on sleep on Wednesday, but then there were enough things due for my office that I did a solid more than half day of work, but I've, been taking real work from home days, so I was like, that's fine. I'll count it as half a sick day. Coming home on the train on Friday, totally putting this in the VR section because there's not really anywhere else to put it. I ended up talking to a young cosplayer going to New York Comic Con, and just want to say it's my first time chatting with like someone in high school in a while, and I hope it didn't come across as creepy or anything, but she had a really cool outfit and like a little dragon puppet and a sword that I remembered having like exactly that same sword for Halloween one year. And so yeah, I was just chatting with her about geekdom, and she gave me a couple recommendations for things to check out. And just talked about, what she wants to do. She wants to go to school for comic book design or comic book web comicking, that kind of thing. So it's just a cool conversation. And I was thinking about what, I'm blanking on the actor's name, but the actor who plays Jean-Ralphio in Parks and Recreation, him talking about when he lived in New York and being on the Metro North and like making a point to chat with new people. And so, whenever I can find the time, and I actually still got a lot done with my wig short thing on that ride home, but whenever I can find the time to be sitting with someone who seems to be pretty open, like it's a great opportunity to meet people, and as long as I don't feel like I'm bothering them, I think I'll try to do a little bit more of that. Okay, let's wrap this up before I fall asleep. And I guess I should just say for my office, there's going to be a few more VR things on the horizon. When I go to Chicago next week, I'm actually going to be seeing if I can work a little bit with their these acousticians we work with, and see if we can start to find a way to use like Max MSP and put audio solutions with VR solutions, but I need to find some time this week to refresh myself on how Max MSP works and how it delivers messages and has some kind of marriage with I almost said Ableton. Unity. Brain is slowing down. End of VR, and then end of segment soon.